Now, the interesting thing about silver at this particular moment is that the prices have started to break out to the upside. Silver's going into is going to go up. They'll create demand destruction. They'll look for alternative metals that may be cheaper. So, we got to take this thing one thing at a time. We got to recapture $30, $35, things like that. Well, the infrastructure bill, that being signed, had created some confidence in the markets. So we're continuing to see equities push on to new record highs. And then also all the commodities across the board are continuing to move up. We saw an underlying bid in copper and then also platinum, some of these key commodities that revolve around infrastructure. As far as the tapering was concerned, we saw a sell-off in the metals coming into the announcement. However, after that, it quickly caught a bid. And it seemed like the Fed really did an excellent job being quite dovish despite tapering. The media, the mainstream media, has tried to build this narrative around a few different events like the Delta wave tapering, also the Evergrande news, to build some fear in the markets and kind of create a liquidation scare in the U.S. equities. And I think that finally they're starting to see that each one of these narratives that's come out has not had any form of contagion whatsoever. And we see the market continue to propel to new highs on that news. Because we know that all these problems, they seem to be, short-lived. Like we knew that we would turn a curve on the Delta variant. So, COVID case counts come down, you start to see the economy grow. You look at the Evergrande news, you looked at other markets beyond China, things like Germany and Israel and some of these other stock indices had propelled to new all-time highs despite that news. So there was no contagion there. The Fed's taper, it is an appropriate measure for them to do. There was a little bit of volatility today when they came out and said that, they may end the taper sooner than next June and then also 2 interest rate hikes next year. But I think that it just reaffirms the strength of the economy right now. They can't just completely, disconnect the plug. They're not cutting the cable at all. They're going to slowly taper out. The problem is that you have a lot of economies, around the globe that are still pretty sensitive and they don't want to see it to be a domino effect. So, in the U.S., they don't want to derail the current uptrend too on U.S. equities. So it is being completely propped up by the Fed and the Fed's policies. I'm not fully convinced yet on gold. Gold's taken me to the altar and walked away, 3, 4, 5 times on this. When we get up in this 1815, 1835, I'm going to need to see at least a couple day closes, beyond 1840 to really be turning bullish on it. We'll buy some call options for people. We'll also buy some of the smaller futures contracts, so they do have some exposure, but very limited on the risk. We are not going to let it trade below $1,800 and stay within there and end up riding this thing back down again. A lot of it hinges on the yield curve. If the yield curve does start to steepen again, especially on the long end of the curve, that will put pressure on gold. Silver, it's unfortunate that it's been so interconnected with gold, but I think silver looks more constructive on the charts. And we do like platinum to the upside, and also copper is starting to turn around after its recent sell-off. Yeah, I think that they're more on the infrastructure side. They're more green energy. There's been more initiative around it. They haven't been so sensitive to, Fed policy, where gold is directly, gold is a currency. It's going to be affected by the steepening yield curve. You might see silver demand, platinum demand, or copper demand all pick up. Copper's sold off recently because of weakness over in China. They've gone into kind of a stalling growth, rising inflation environment, and that's hit the copper market. But the copper inventories remain quite tight. Similarly with platinum. And platinum, we believe, has one of the best opportunities it's especially with catalytic converters. If you start to see some of these supply chain issues be resolved, you'll see an increase in demand from auto manufacturers. They'll turn on their assembly plants again, and they'll quickly snatch up all the platinum they can at these lower levels. I mean, there is a lot of competition for what that title is, whether it's like a Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency, what type of investor is driving into silver. They might be, if they're in it for the YOLO, it's going to $50, they might be better off chasing something else at the moment. Like people are going for these altcoins like Shiba and things like that. I mean, my phone's blowing up with all my buddies, getting rich quick off of all these other products, and silver is just not there. So, it is true. And I respect him a lot in his commentary with regards to, some of the metals and some of his ideas. It is accurate that silver is more of that green energy. That's what could really drive prices. If you see green energy initiative really take off and that demand come in, and you still have supply chains issues from some of the mining operations out there, it could cause a physical squeeze. I think that would be pretty tough, because then you would get to where the cost of whatever the product silver is going into is going to go up. They'll create demand destruction. They'll look for alternative metals that may be cheaper. So you got to take this thing one thing at a time. We got to recapture $30, $35, things like that. Now, the interesting thing about silver at this particular moment is that the prices have started to break out to the upside. Once they start to break out to the upside, if it extends like another dollar higher, or starts getting these 1%, 2% moves each day, you'll see that kind of Reddit army, the YOLO crowd. They'll migrate over. They'll sell some of their Bitcoin at the the high end of the range, 66, 67,000. They'll roll that into, they understand compounding wealth. They'll roll that into something like silver that looks like it's breaking out. And then if you get that breakout, they could continue to compound their wealth. So silver, like I said, very particular and interesting spot right here on price. Man, I'd love to see gold just hang on 1800, get above 1840 and break out to the upside. I don't see $2,100 gold by any means, but it'd be nice if we started to threaten 1900 by the end of the year. All of this hinges on the yield curve. Silver, on the other hand, if it could really attract that buying interest, get the breakout, I mean, we could see something like $28, $29 silver pretty easy. Well, the way we position with our clients, just in case you do get the breakout, we bought March silver. We bought the $26 call. We sold the $29 call against it. So it costs 40 cents. Which is $2,000. Your max gain is $15,000 less what you pay for it. So we like that bet. We like the amount of time on it. I like miners, but I like the principle behind them. However, I don't like the fact that the biggest cost for a miner is energy and labor costs and insurance, and all those things are going higher, which will affect the profitability. So you're too hinged on, you need, the price of metal to continue to perform in order for the miner to perform. People like them because, they like the story behind it or who the CEO is, but they all have the same challenges. They have to put gas in the equipment. They've got to put oil, and those are breaking out to new highs. All the costs of everything are going up. So they're really their profitability is going to compress as time goes on.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information, and it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.